Think about the last time you were at the grocery store. You're scanning your items, and the cashier looks up and asks, "How are you?"
Oh, the classic question.
Right. And your brain probably autofilled "I'm good, you," before you even registered what they said.
Yeah, it's just a reflex at that point.
Totally reflex. Or maybe, you had a genuinely terrible morning. Like you spilled coffee on your laptop, you got stuck in horrendous traffic.
The worst.
Yeah. And then a coworker asks how your day is going, and you just shrug and say, "I'm stressed."
Right, which is just such a massive understatement.
Exactly. We do this constantly. We rely on these default, really low-resolution labels to describe our incredibly complex internal lives.
We do, we really do.
And so today's deep dive is all about why that linguistic trap is actually sabotaging your ability to connect with other people.
It's a profound blind spot for most of us, honestly.
It really is. And we are pulling today's insights from a really compelling piece of source material.
Yeah, it's a text called Beyond Basic Words, Mastering the Language of Emotion.
Such a good read.
It is. And the core premise here isn't just about, expanding your English vocabulary just for the sake of sounding smart.
Right. It's not a vocabulary test.
Exactly. It's about this psychological concept of emotional granularity.
Which is fascinating.
It really is. It's the idea that the precision of our language actually dictates the precision of our mental state and our relationships.
Okay, let's unpack this. Why are the words we use every single day suddenly a problem?
Well, because they hide what's actually going on.
Right, because on the surface, words like happy, sad, angry, or, excited, they seem perfectly fine.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, they get the job done. They are sort of the universal building blocks of communication.
They are building blocks, yes. But what's fascinating here is why those basic words fail us so consistently when we actually need to be understood.
Because they're just too simple.
Pretty much. Those words are essentially cognitive shortcuts. Our brains are always trying to save energy, So instead of fully processing a complex, layered emotional state, we just grab the nearest, easiest label.
We just say, "I'm angry."
Exactly. But human emotions are incredibly deep. When you just say, "I'm happy," it's completely ambiguous.
Because it can mean so many things.
Right. Are you feeling a quiet, peaceful calm?
Yeah.
Or are you buzzing with frantic, energetic excitement?
Totally different feeling.
Exactly. Or are you feeling a deep, quiet pride because of a recent achievement? Or maybe you're simply just comfortable and relaxed on your couch after a long week.
It reminds me of a comparison. Relying on these basic words is like trying to paint a masterpiece using only primary colors.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Right. Because sure, red, blue, and yellow get the basic idea across.
Yeah.
But how do you paint a beautiful sunset without magenta or gold or violet?
You really can't. The nuance is just totally lost.
It is. It's like trying to diagnose a computer glitch by just calling IT and saying, "The screen is broken."
Which tells them absolutely nothing useful.
Right. Is there a software virus? Did you physically shatter the monitor?
Is the power cord just unplugged?
Exactly. You can't fix the problem without granular diagnostics. And in human terms, you can't offer the right comfort or response.
That is a perfect analogy. When you give someone low-resolution data, they can only give you a low-resolution response.
Wow. Yeah.
If you just say, "I'm sad," the listener has to sort of guess which version of sadness you actually mean.
And this is exactly why our spoken communication can end up sounding repetitive or honestly just entirely unclear.
We assume the other person knows what we're feeling.
But we haven't actually given them the tools to understand us.
Exactly. The goal of this text isn't to teach you how to, quote unquote, speak proper English.
Right.
It's to teach you how to express yourself in a way that feels real, personal, and vivid.
So if these basic labels, these primary colors of emotion, if you will, are failing us, how do we actually capture the reality of an experience?
Well, it requires a shift in how you talk.
Because if I tell you I'm sad, I'm just slapping a name tag on my forehead. How do we move past that?
The shift happens when you stop telling and start showing.
Showing.
Yeah. The author introduces the solution of using descriptive phrases and metaphors to literally paint a picture.
Oh, like that.
The goal is to bypass the analytical part of the listener's brain and go straight to their empathy. You want to make them physically feel what you feel.
The source gives a really great example of this, actually. It contrasts two ways of speaking.
Oh, the sadness example.
Yes. So
Okay.
the first is what we've been talking about. You just say, "I am sad." Data received.
Very robotic.
Exactly. But the upgraded version that the text suggests is saying, "I feel a quiet heaviness in my chest, like something is missing but I don't know what.
It's so much more impactful.
It really is.
Let's look at the mechanism of why that second phrase works so much better. When you say, my chest feels heavy, you are actually triggering mirror neurons in the listener's brain.
Oh, wow. Mirror neurons.
Yeah. They subconsciously recall a time when their own chest felt tight from grief or exhaustion.
That is fascinating.
You aren't just sharing an abstract fact anymore. You are sharing a somatic, physical experience. You're basically inviting them into your body.
Or like moving from I am nervous to my mind won't slow down and my thoughts keep racing in every direction.
Exactly. It's a completely different level of connection.
I hear you on the connection and I totally buy into the mirror neuron aspect, but I do have to push back a little bit here.
Okay, go for it.
In a professional setting, say a really fast-paced Tuesday morning marketing meeting, spelling out a poetic metaphor about a quiet heaviness in my chest might just make me sound completely melodramatic.
That's a very fair point.
Isn't saying I'm stressed, just more efficient, we're all dizzy. Why use a whole, long, vulnerable sentence when 2 words get the job done?
It is a completely fair question, and context absolutely matters. You aren't going to deliver a Shakespearean monologue to your boss in passing.
Right, that would be weird.
But your question assumes that the goal of all communication is just speed. True communication is about mutual understanding. Efficiency absolutely does not matter if the other person doesn't truly grasp your internal state.
That's a really sharp point.
Right. If you say, I'm stressed to your team, they might think you're just a little busy and can handle one more project.
Oh, I've been there.
But if you actually feel like you are being crushed by a weight you can't put down, the communication failed.
Because they didn't understand the severity.
Exactly. You saved 3 seconds, but you remain completely misunderstood, and now you have a new project on your desk.
So saving time doesn't help if the message fundamentally misses the mark.
Precisely. And to your point about metaphors, the text emphasizes how things like gravity and physical weight are universal,
So you can use them anywhere.
even in a business setting. Instead of, I feel stressed, you use a metaphor like, it feels like I'm carrying a heavy weight on my shoulders that I can't put down.
That paints a picture without sounding overly, emotional or dramatic.
Exactly. A metaphor connects your internal, invisible feeling to something physical or visual in the real world.
Okay, so now that we have the mechanics down, this idea of using physical descriptions and metaphors to trigger actual empathy, let's look at how the source applies these tools.
To the specific emotions, right?
Yeah, the ones we all feel every single day.
The author actually spends significant time breaking down what they call the big 4.
The classic primary colors.
Exactly. Happiness, sadness, anger, and fear.
Let's start with happiness, because as we established earlier, it is rarely just one thing.
It really isn't.
If your happiness is deeply calm, the source suggests saying, I feel a gentle sense of contentment, like everything is finally in the right place.
Such a nice phrasing.
But if it's an energetic, kinetic happiness, the phrase shifts completely. You say, I feel like I'm bursting with excitement, like I can't sit still.
And if it's achievement-based?
Then you say, there's a deep sense of satisfaction in knowing that all my hard work paid off.
Notice how each of those phrases dictates an entirely different physical reality.
Yeah, they really do.
Contentment feels like muscles relaxing. Bursting with excitement feels like a raised heart rate.
And they're all just masquerading under the word happy.
Exactly.
Now let's pivot to sadness. If sadness is largely about an absence of energy, how do we capture that without just sounding like a broken record?
The text really differentiates between being drained versus being empty.
Oh, that's a crucial distinction.
It is, are you drained? The text suggests framing it as, I feel emotionally drained, like I have no energy left to care about anything.
That implies you had energy and it was spent.
Right, but emptiness is different. For that, the source uses the phrase, there's a quiet emptiness inside me, like something important is missing.
I think my personal favorite from the text is the way it describes unexplainable sadness.
The kind that doesn't really have a direct trigger.
Yeah. It uses the phrasing, I feel a kind of sadness that I can't explain, like a cloud that won't go away.
That is such an effective visual. The cloud metaphor captures how passive, lingering, and pervasive that specific type of melancholy is.
It just hovers over everything you do.
It colors the light. It's totally different from the acute, sharp pain of grief.
So if sadness is often an absence of energy, anger is kind of the exact opposite.
Oh, absolutely. It's an excess of volatile energy.
So how do we articulate that scale? Because anger ranges from, my neighbor is playing music too loud to, I have been deeply betrayed.
The author scales it beautifully, actually. For mild anger, it's about an annoyance that is gaining momentum.
Okay.
So you say, I feel a growing frustration that I can't ignore anymore.
It's active, but contained.
Exactly. But for intense anger, the physical metaphor heats up. You'd say, there's a burning tension inside me that makes it hard to stay calm.
And for explosive anger, it goes to the absolute limit. I feel like I'm about to explode because I've been holding everything in for too long.
And look at the second half of that sentence.
The holding everything in part.
Yeah, because I've been holding everything in for too long. That adds an entire narrative context.
It tells the listener why the anger reached a critical mass.
It provides a history that the word angry completely lacks on its own.
That's so true. Finally, we have fear. The text looks at fear as either a sudden spike or a slow, constant hum.
Both very distinct feelings.
Right. For the sudden spike, I feel a sudden rush of panic, like something bad is about to happen.
And for the constant hum, the ambient anxiety.
It says there's a constant uneasiness in my mind that I can't shake off. Or, if it's vulnerable fear, I feel uncertain and vulnerable, like I'm stepping into something unknown.
Wow.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Just looking at this breakdown, I am realizing how many subflavors exist.
There are so many.
We just walked through 12 totally distinct emotional and physical states that we usually just cover with 4 generic words.
It really highlights how much we cheat ourselves out of being understood. We're walking around with a massive orchestra at our disposal, but we only ever play 4 notes.
Such a good way to put it.
But as the author rightfully points out, breaking down these categories is helpful for practice, but real human life is rarely that clean cut.
That is the honest truth. It's almost never just one pure emotion.
Exactly. What happens when our feelings get messy?
Yeah.
When they get mixed up and don't fit into a neat box labeled anger or joy?
The messy middle. This is arguably the most relatable part of the source material.
It really is.
It specifically tackles the feelings that people really struggle to articulate, like the bittersweet.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Think about watching a close friend pack up their apartment to move across the country for their absolute dream job.
You are thrilled for them, but you are devastated for yourself.
Exactly. And the default reaction for most people in that moment is just to say, I feel weird.
Because they don't know how to process the conflicting data.
Right. But the text gives this fantastic grounding phrase. It says to use, I feel a bittersweet emotion, like I'm happy about this moment, but also sad that it won't last.
Using a phrase like that signals incredible emotional maturity.
It really does.
It tells the listener that you have the capacity to hold 2 conflicting truths simultaneously without your brain just, short-circuiting.
The text also delves into confusion and overwhelm, which are incredibly common in modern life.
Oh, absolutely. We feel those all the time.
Instead of just throwing your hands up and saying, I am confused, the text suggests articulating the mental fog.
Oh, hey, how so?
By saying, I feel mentally lost, like I can't find a clear direction, or my thoughts are all over the place and nothing seems to make sense right now.
I love that. And for overwhelm, it's about describing the external pressure.
Yeah.
Instead of just, I am overwhelmed, you describe the specific reality. I feel like everything is happening at once and I don't know where to start.
Which immediately helps the listener step into your shoes.
They don't just know you are stressed, they know the mechanics of why you are stressed. It's because there are too many concurrent demands on your attention.
To take this a step further, the text introduces another crucial technique for navigating the messy middle.
Oh, the physical sensations.
Yes, leaning heavily into bodily sensations, because our bodies always react to our feelings before our conscious brains even catch up.
This is perhaps the most actionable tool in the entire text.
You think so?
Definitely. Instead of trying to find the perfect psychological label for a complex emotion, just describe what your nervous system is doing.
Right.
For instance, instead of saying, I was nervous, you simply report the physiology. You say, my heart was beating fast and my hands felt slightly cold.
Or instead of I was embarrassed, you say, I could feel my face getting warm and I didn't know where to look.
I love that addition, not knowing where to look.
It perfectly captures that awkward, desperate desire to just shrink down and disappear into the floorboards.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, detailing physical sensations is incredibly powerful because it grounds abstraction in a shared spatial reality.
Okay, give me an example.
Well, the text gives a stunning example of this regarding loneliness.
Oh, right.
It says, instead of I felt lonely, I felt like I was surrounded by people, but still completely disconnected, like no one really understood me.
You can practically feel the physical isolation in a crowded room when you hear that.
Precisely. You are taking a totally invisible concept, loneliness, and grounding it in a physical space.
Because you establish that there are bodies all around you, yet there is an invisible barrier.
It makes the experience universally relatable, even to someone who isn't currently lonely.
Okay, having this rich, descriptive vocabulary makes total sense. I see the absolute value in it.
It's a game changer.
But we have to ask the practical question of how to actually integrate this. How do you train your brain to pull up these phrases naturally in the heat of the moment?
That's the hard part.
Because when you're just chatting with a friend over coffee, you don't have 5 minutes to sit there and compose a brilliant metaphor about a heavy weight on your shoulders.
It definitely requires intentional practice. It's about breaking a habit you've probably had since childhood.
So where do we start?
Well, the source grounds this in very recognizable, everyday chats. When someone asks about your day, the default reflex is to say, "It was a bad day."
Right. The absolute most basic, low-resolution response possible.
Exactly. The text suggests actively replacing that reflex. Instead of bad day, you say, "It was one of those days where nothing seemed to go right, and by the end, I just felt completely exhausted."
That is so much better.
Or if someone asks what you're looking forward to, instead of, "I am excited," you pause and you say, "I feel a strong sense of anticipation about what's coming next, like something good is waiting for me."
That adds so much texture and personality to your speech.
It really does.
It makes you sound engaged. It makes you someone people actually want to listen to and interact with.
And while we're talking about speaking, the author highlights a critical element that goes far beyond the actual vocabulary words.
The tone.
The paramount importance of tone. Words alone aren't enough. Your acoustic delivery must match the emotion.
Yes. If you are expressing something calm, your tone needs to actually slow down and become soft and steady.
Exactly.
If you are describing excitement, your voice needs to physically carry that kinetic energy.
The source makes a really fascinating point here by looking at artificial intelligence, actually.
Oh, right, the AI voiceover stuff.
Yeah. It notes that matching tone to emotion is the biggest hurdle for AI voiceover content right now.
That makes so much sense. Because why does AI sometimes hit that creepy, uncanny valley?
Because it lacks the physical connection.
Right. It can say the words, "I am absolutely devastated," but it delivers them with the bright, chipper cadence of a morning radio DJ.
Exactly. The words say one thing, but the acoustic delivery says another.
And we pick up on that immediately.
As humans, we have a highly evolved, deeply sensitive radar for emotional authenticity. When a human is genuinely sad, their physiology changes.
Their vocal cords relax, their breath gets shallower.
Their resonance drops. The feeling has to live in the physical sound, not just the text.
And AI just lacks the physical chest cavity to create the true resonance of sadness.
Which is why we instantly detect that it's fake.
That is wild to consider, especially as we consume more and more digital media.
It is a bit wild.
But bringing it back to our own human brains, the text provides a few really organic ways to build this descriptive habit into your life.
The exercises, yeah.
Yeah. The author suggests starting with a kind of daily audit. At the end of the day, don't just tell yourself, "Today was good," or "Today was bad."
You have to force your brain to explain the mechanics of why.
Right. Ask yourself, what exactly did I feel in my body? When did my emotions shift? What was the actual trigger for those feelings?
It's about refusing to let yourself off the hook with a basic label.
What's the next exercise?
Another habit to build is active listening. When you're consuming podcasts or watching movies or, listening to long-form interviews, pay close attention to how highly engaging people talk about their internal lives.
Oh, that's a good tip.
You will start to notice a pattern. Truly fluent, charismatic speakers rarely use simple words alone.
They instinctively add physical details.
They provide brief anecdotes, and they use metaphors to flesh out the feelings so you can actually understand them.
And there's a tangible practice you can do as well.
Yeah.
The sentence rewriting.
Oh, yes. That one is great.
You can take a basic sentence like, "I am tired," and actively practice expanding it on paper.
So you actually write it out.
You sit down and write, "I feel completely drained, like I don't have the energy to do anything else today."
And by doing this regularly, you are slowly paving new neural pathways.
You're building the mental muscle memory.
Exactly. So that the next time you are exhausted, completely drained, is loaded into your brain just as quickly as the word tired is.
It takes time, but it radically shifts how you interact with the world.
It absolutely does.
So what does this all mean?
Well,
When we put all these pieces together, the mirror neurons, the physical metaphors, navigating the messy middle, the alignment of tone, what is the ultimate goal of all this effort?
the source text defines it beautifully, I think. Language is not just about grammatical correctness or having a massive vocabulary. True fluency isn't a math equation where you just plug in the right verb tense and get a gold star. It's about authentic human connection.
That's the real goal.
When you can describe your inner landscape clearly, vividly, and accurately, you bridge the gap between yourself and others. You allow them to truly see you.
That deep empathetic connection is the actual definition of true fluency.
It really is.
I love that framing. It's not about passing an English test or sounding poetic. It's about being profoundly understood by another human being.
Exactly.
As we begin to wrap up this deep dive, we want to pull this right back to your everyday life. The ultimate takeaway from today's source material is this. The next time you open your mouth to say a simple reflex phrase like, I am happy or I am sad, hit the pause button.
Just for one single second, interrupt the loop.
Just pause. Ask yourself what you really feel. Where do you feel it in your physical body? What is a metaphor for the weight of it or the speed of it?
And then try to express it creatively.
Because your emotions are not simple, two-dimensional things, and your language shouldn't be either.
And as you start practicing this out in the real world, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
Oh, I'm ready.
It's a concept that builds on this text, but takes it a step further into psychology. We've spent this whole time talking about how to use words to describe your feelings to others.
Right.
But consider the theory of linguistic relativity. Psychologists often suggest that the vocabulary we use actually dictates and shapes how we experience the world ourselves.
Oh, wow. That is heavy.
It is. If you only ever use basic, low-resolution words like sad or angry in your own internal monologue, are you actively limiting your own emotional experience?
Are you flattening your own life?
Exactly. If you expand your vocabulary and practice emotional granularity, you might not just change how you speak to others. You might actually change how deeply you feel everything.
That is incredible to think about. So to go back to our earlier thought, it's time to throw out the primary colors.
Yes, mix the paints.
Mix the paints. Find the magenta, find the gold, and start experiencing the full reality of the sunset.
Beautifully said.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and we will catch you next time.